Okay, you want to just transition?
Ellen DeGeneres has COVID-19.
She does?
No.
Is she a jerk? She's not a jerk, right? Were those stories? Do we know?
I mean, I like her, but I know some people who have not had good experiences. We should definitely keep this. We can turn into a Hollywood news gossip podcast.
Well, welcome back to the DCL Podcast, your podcast to help you and your family cruise a little smarter when the ship starts sailing. And I'd like to welcome back to the show, all the way down in her, what do I call that? Like her, it's not news studio, but studio on the road, Christy Piddick from Pack Your Pixie Dust, all the way from Florida. How you doing today, Christy?
I am well. How are you, Steve?
And down in Burbank, California, coming live from the Golden State. How are you doing today, Chris?
Doing great. I'm in my nursery studio, an empty nursery DCL studio, but I'm doing great. Nice to see you both on a weekday morning.
Well, we thought we'd throw together a quick little bonus show for you. You guys have been able to experience Disney. I was kind of joking that your guys' Disney fun meters are pegged, and mine somewhere down in the yellow range or whatnot, not being full at all. But you guys have both had some fun time doing some Disney stuff lately, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yep.
So why don't we go, let's see, west is best and east is least. So let's just start with the east then, Christy.
East is best. It's the biggest. Got the most to do.
I went to Bellevue West High School, and there was Bellevue West and Bellevue East, and that was our saying, west is best and east is least. So that's where that came from. But
look at you.
We get to learn so much about Steve during these recordings.
Yeah, just scintillating information, isn't it? So, well, let's jump down to Walt Disney World. Christy, you've been down there for the week. You're spending the whole month of December. I can't even imagine that, down in Florida. How are things going down there?
It is so crazy to be here. It's cold, which is hilarious to me. Like legitimately cold, like 34 degrees at nighttime and first thing in the morning, cold. But it's really good. It's kind of crazy to be here for so long. And frankly, I love it. If the internet was better, I would be more inclined to just stay in temporary housing forever and continue to remote work and school. But the internet's really bad.
So you have to make some changes, but you've had some amazing pictures, and I think that you guys got a Rise of the Resistance pass, not to give away any spoilers or anything like that, but that picture of the castle that you put up the other night, or was it last night, was just amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the iPhone 12 Pro, man, takes some really good night shots, and it's funny because we have Dave still has the iPhone 11 Pro. I was like, okay, there's supposed to be a difference between night pictures of these. Let's look at them, and the 12 is just enough crisper that you can see a difference. Basically, the way my phone plan worked, I could just swap it out and pay the same price. And so we had upgraded the phones, and it takes a good nighttime picture.
Did you see that picture, Chris?
Yeah, it was so good. It made me, though, wonder, I had thought that Disney World was not doing fireworks, but there were little, flare fireworks behind the castle.
Yeah, so they're doing a poof, like one poof, I don't know the timing because some people said it was every 15 minutes when the picture swaps out, but I don't think it is. I think it's because I was standing out there a week ago for an hour and I think there was a firework or something. So I think it depends on the night and it might be hourly or it might be every few castle projection changes, but it's one firework, one poof.
And do you know when that's going to happen? It just happens.
It just happens.
Okay.
They don't want people standing around. And I will say that when we were coming up, because we came from behind, last night, for example, we came from behind the castle and came around it. I was like, wow, it looks crowded. So maybe we're not going to stay and see what the next projection is going to be or anything like that. But it really, once you got in front of the hub, everybody was more than their 6 feet apart. It really wasn't crowded. So that is really nice.
That makes sense. Because they don't want people to gather, they don't advertise when these things are going to happen. They just make them happen.
Yeah, but we are loving it. So we have been to all the parks once, and now we've been to the Magic Kingdom twice. My son goes to school during the day. We go to work during the day. We have taken a day off that was our Hollywood Studios day. We just said, we're going to the park for the day. It's been so nice to travel again. I'm not going to lie. It's been really nice.
So you guys are annual pass holders. How has it been being able to get places in the park or get reservations for the park, I guess?
Yeah, that's been tough. Like next week, I wanted to go to Hollywood Studios on Wednesday so that we could do like a midweek trip. Now we can only make 3 reservations at a time if we don't have a hotel stay. And we are staying on Disney property the week of Christmas. So we get to have all those 6 nights, 7, because you get the beginning and end day of parks that we get to go to, and our availability is much wider. But even for some people staying on Disney property, you do have to check the availability calendar because there is not availability all the time for every park, and they are filling up. And like Saturday, for example, was our first this past Saturday was our first Magic Kingdom day. And I thought for sure I had made our reservation for the Magic Kingdom. Well, I hadn't made our reservation. I had made us a dining reservation, but I didn't make us a park reservation. I did not get a park reservation until like 8:30 that morning. So we didn't actually know if that day we were even going to the Magic Kingdom. I don't love that.
No, I totally understand that. Going forward, Chris, I hope that Disneyland does the same thing where they really limit the annual pass holders. So, tourists such as myself can come down there because what is it, like about 10% of the people in Disneyland in any given day are tourists and about 90 are annual pass holders. So if we pare those down to about like 20% annual pass holders, a day at Disneyland will be magical again.
Yeah, they say like 20-80. 20% are tourists and 80% are locals. I don't know. I bet you during some parts of the year, those numbers skew, though.
I'm being totally sarcastic.
If you came on Christmas Day, Steve, not very many pass holders there because they're all blocked out. But if you come on like, a Saturday in the spring, it's just pass holders.
And I'm totally being sarcastic about that.
Yeah,
so.
No, I know.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. So, what have the crowds been like, Christy? Have you, going in there with Blake and your husband, Dave, and everything like that? Has it been really busy? Have you guys felt comfortable? Just kind of curious that way, as far as getting on the rides and just being around the park in general.
I have mixed feelings about my comfort level. I am pretty, my son had basically gone nowhere since March. He has, we had flown to Florida once during the summer for a very quick trip that had a meeting coinciding with it. And so he had to come with us because we didn't have anything else to do with him. That was his only time basically out of the house and not at my mom's house. And like we play at our house. And there was like this one little girl he could play with at our house because they were being very careful with their quarantining and who was in their bubble and things like that. But so all of those things, it is weird. I'm not going to lie. It is weird being out in public again. And it's weird being out in public with Blake. Disney does a great job, but the cast members are also tired, in my opinion. And you can tell, and some of them have blatantly said it. They're telling people to put their masks on or to put their masks over their nose because everybody will leave their mask on, but their noses are hanging out, which is not effective or within the requirements. One cast member just came out and said, we're not telling them because they're not going to listen and they're going to do it again anyway. Some of that is occurring and that is difficult. It makes it difficult for me to have a more enjoyable time and have less stress. And I'm not trying to be negative. People need to know what it's like from a person who has been really cautious during this quarantine or this coronavirus period to know what it's like to return to the park. And I've had mixed feelings. Now, we are loving it as a being back and traveling and being back at Disney World sort of mindset. And Disney World overall, I feel much safer than going anywhere else. I haven't been very many places, honestly, since this has still all started. Even Dave mostly goes to the store for us. So it's like the mask compliance is not 100%, which I guess isn't a surprise to anybody, but it should be, right? Because there's signs everywhere that say you have to follow the rules. And so that's really hard for me. That is, to my soul, difficult to handle.
We've been seeing the same thing kind of in the airlines and travel as well. But for the most part, the flight attendants have been really good about making sure people comply. But it does get old after a while. So I totally understand where the cast members are coming from.
I feel so bad for the cast members. And on that, on the cast member front, they are thanking us for coming. And they are grateful, at least most of the people from what I can tell are grateful. but also some of them are very tired. So I would just ask people to please, have some grace for the cast members and also do the thing we're supposed to do, which is properly wear your mask. And I will say that it's been a little bit cold, so the mask wearing has not been a problem at all because it leaves you a little cozy.
I have noticed that too. Yeah, we were over mountain biking in Bend the other week. It was kind of cold when we were mountain biking, but we had our masks on and definitely kept it warmer when we were going through the forest and the trees and stuff like that. So I would be remiss. Maybe I should let Chris ask this. Mickey and Minnie's.
Okay, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, or is it Runaway Railroad? Either way.
Railway.
Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Don't spoil it because I'm obviously so excited. Right. But what are your impressions?
There's like a couple of cute little songs. We love it so much. There's a couple of cute little songs that all three of us have found ourselves humming throughout this past week. That's fun, like memorable music that you take with you once you leave the ride. I absolutely love that. We loved the ride, and we had to wait almost the entire day because the waits were just a little too long for my liking, which I guess is the one downfall of this new period and no fast passes, is that some lines are really long. Some are short, like sidestepping a bit. Peter Pan has like a 20-minute wait or 30-minute wait often, like so often. When does that happen? Just in the regular standby line? Never. So I've gotten to see Wendy's room, which is super cute in the Magic Kingdom. But anyway, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railroad. I waited. I didn't see any spoilers before the ride. I am so happy about that. And Chris, you are going to love it, I think. We actually rode it twice. I wanted to ride it twice. And I said, I don't need to go on Smuggler's Run because we were going to ride that at the end of the night too. I told my husband, you two go on that ride. I want to run Runaway Railroad again. And Blake actually was like all day excited about Smuggler's Run. Didn't understand Rise, so he didn't know that he should be excited about that. But all day he was excited about Smuggler's Run. And then he's like, no, I want to run Mickey and Minnie again. So, we were all super happy with it. And Dave can go off and ride stuff on his own. Like he went and did Space Mountain yesterday by himself. Blake and I did Peter Pan that time. So he's very happy to go and ride something on his own. But he was like, no, I want to ride this again too. So it's a family favorite.
Oh my gosh. I mean, when we drove past Disneyland on the 5, you can see the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway building because they're building it at Disneyland. And it's massive. They're building like a huge building back there.
It's so cute. And you go through things. Wait. Things happen. Like there's rooms. It's so fun.
Yeah, I'm super, super excited.
Yeah, we came home with the Runaway Railway train, toy train. I cannot make any of those words come out. So it was so cute that my son wanted to use his money to buy a toy. So,
aww,
I love it. So, and then Rise, Blake loved it.
We all loved it. This is not a secret. I am not a big Star Wars person. Like, I love that it's a thing and that people like it. I think it's the coolest ride/experience in the history of all rides and experiences.
Really? That's saying a lot.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
I mean, Christy is correct. It is the best. The thing is, like, there will be people who like a certain type of ride more because they're partial to that type of ride, right? Like, dark rides or whatever. Or some people prefer more thrill. I will say that, like, Rise is not like a drop your stomach 70 miles per hour type of thrill ride. But it does have drops and thrills. It also has a dark ride vibe. And it's so long. It's like,
and it's an experience.
It's like a 20, 30-minute experience once you get to that first room. And then it's basically like 4 different sections that really move you through in like a way that is exhilarating. So yeah, I will say I 100% agree. I think there's no contest. Universal has some really great rides that were pushing the ticket, like the Hogwarts Forbidden Journey ride was really revolutionary when it came out. The Hagrid's coaster over at Universal Florida is easily the best roller coaster I've ever been on. They have some cool stuff, but Rise of the Resistance as an all-around attraction is like maybe 50 points ahead of any other ride I've ever been on. So I agree, Christy.
I think the immersion You know, like you're saying, it's not necessarily. It does have some thrill spots in it, but I think just the immersion and the storytelling, and then the way they do it with all the technology, just makes it amazing. So, well, I guess before we finish up here about Walt Disney World, anything else you want to talk about? And if not, how about some tips for people that may be coming down in the next 2 weeks over the holidays, Christy, as far as navigating the parks, maybe finding food to eat? Any thoughts on any of that?
I guess this is the tip, and it goes into what else I would share about and a tip. You have to plan your meals, and somebody else was just talking about this on their show. You are not supposed to eat in line. If you need to, if you can put a bite of a granola bar under your mask when you get into line, because people were abusing that. Shockingly, people were abusing the not wearing their masks in line so that they could eat and drink and or hold a cup and pretend to be eating and drinking. So you are no longer allowed to eat or drink. They tell you this when you are through the line, but you have to now plan for that then ahead of time, because if you were waiting in line, that's when you could eat a snack, right? Like, I've brought tons of food onto tons of lines to eat while waiting, and now that's not an option. So you have to plan. Also, highly consider, if you eat popcorn, the popcorn refillable bucket. I don't know if I should say this. I'm going to say this. The AT-AT bucket from Hollywood Studios is still the exact same AT-AT bucket still being sold at Hollywood Studios. So if somebody had that bucket, I'm going to let you fill in the blanks for what you would do with said bucket if you were coming to Walt Disney World in the next 2 weeks. But I now have 2 of those buckets because I did not know it was the same. So anyway, we have eaten my son's weight in popcorn, and every refill is just $2. And we are a big popcorn family. So we take it and bring it home. And that's a tip for when you're going to your resorts, because everything closes so early now, including food courts. Make sure you have food with you in the evening. You can usually do 2 refills at a time. You can ask for 2 refills worth, so you can take them to your room. You can even bring a bag and dump them in there. You could do that whole thing. You could be that lady who dumps their popcorn so you can have a snack in the room. The one thing about caps, so we have been at the Magic Kingdom when it was supposedly sold out, right? Because I couldn't even get a ticket. They were completely sold out. It's not the most crowded the whole day. So there are some pluses to coming to Disney at the holidays this year, because there will be less people. It isn't like Kid Soup, People Soup. It's still more crowded. It's going to feel like a weekend versus going during the week right now for the people who are familiar and who have seen pictures. So it's not going to be an empty park. Those days of July where you got a completely empty hub and there's nobody in your vision is just not going to be a thing, especially for the next 3 weeks. But, there's a cap at how many people are in the park. And so you can kind of get a feel for the sold out days, how it's going to be at Christmas if you were coming. So you can look at that to decide how you want to do the wait times and things like that.
You mentioned earlier about Peter Pan not having a long wait. One of the downsides to fast passes is that they make every standby line way longer than it would need to be if there were no fast passes. So you're getting a glimpse of which lines would actually be totally reasonable if the fast pass system didn't exist. And
right,
I know they're not going to get rid of fast passes, but it does remind me of a time before fast passes where the standby lines, you really almost never waited more than 30 minutes, even for the really big rides, because they were moving people through them so quickly.
But there are rides that we will not be able to ride until, potentially, until they bring back, because we will not wait in an hour-long ride line. And there are still many an hour-long line at this time, which is why I rode Runway Railroad or Railway. That's such a tongue twister. At 6:00 at night, because I needed the line to go down, because we are not great wait in line people, and you can't even eat, and we will follow those rules. So yes, we might take a sip of water if we're standing in line, but it's literally move the mask, take a sip, put it back. There's none of these we're not trying to breathe on people in our space, and we would hope that the people we're going to the parks with are just as respectful. So we're not doing an hour-long line. It's just not happening. So I miss fast passes.
Yeah, so Disneyland and Disney World also have just a totally different fast pass vibe, because with Disney World, the whole My Magic experience or whatever is that your vacation is planned and regimented and everything is like, reservations and fast passes. And that's not how it is right now during COVID, because you can't make fast passes like you used to be able to, though you are reserving park experience, like to even get into the park. So, and I do foresee Disney utilizing these systems in the future, and maybe even doing virtual queues, which I wouldn't mind.
No, me
because
neither.
virtual queues seem like a win-win, because it means that you're out buying food and shopping
Right.
while you would have normally been waiting in line. So I actually could see that being Disney's like strategy for the future.
It depends, though. Can you be in more than one virtual queue at a time? And how do you get into it? And like, so you get into your Rise queue at 7 a.m., but then those are sold out in 1 second. And so then literally 1 second. So then nobody is getting on Rise if you didn't get it in that 1 second, or if you don't try again. It's like they have to work some of that out.
Yeah, and some of that's a capacity issue too. Like,
That's true.
They also, like, because Rise is such a crowd pleaser and it draws so much attention, if they had 2 or 3 marquee attractions in the morning that people were competing to get that first reservation on,
Right.
then that might help draw some of that away. But, at this point, they're also dealing with, 30% capacity, or where are they at?
35%.
Okay, so 35% capacity, and Rise is still selling out instantly, which basically tells us that on any given day, only 30, maybe 25% of the people in that park would even get to experience that ride.
I know, which is sad for the people that are coming that want to experience it for the first time.
Yeah. It's almost like, on Disney, I'm not telling you to do this, so if you're listening, don't do this, but it's almost like they should say, a Rise Fast Pass is just included in your vacation package if it's 7 days or longer or something like that.
Right. Well, that would actually be a great selling point to do that if you stay at, because there's literally not one reason to stay at a Disney resort right now except for transportation. And right now I question whether that's a plus. That could be a great feature. Yes, you get one time to ride.
Guaranteed you will get to ride, this attraction.
During your 7-day trip.
During your 7-day trip.
Maybe they turn it into different packages. So you have your Star Wars package, your Princess package, and they come with different things like that, and just really make it confusing for the travel agents.
I mean, Christy'd still be in it though, right? Because this would help encourage people to book.
Oh,
Right.
Definitely. No, I think that's a good idea. If you could do like some packages like that where you partner in, different rides or experiences along with it. So maybe when you book the Halcyon, you'll be able to make sure that you have a Rise Pass or something.
Oh, for sure they're getting Rise
definitely,
passes.
right?
Yeah.
So could I
There's
ask?
no way.
Could I ask my controversial question?
Yes.
Okay, so I was going to wait till the end, but we'll just throw this. Well, before we transition over to Chris's experience at Disneyland, Chris, you're going to be down there for the rest of the month. If people want to get a hold of you to ask questions, where can they find you?
I am all over the world at social media world at Pack Your Pixie Dust. So reach out, find me, ask me a question. Christy at packyourpixiedust.com, which is in the show notes as well.
Twitter, Instagram, email, all that type of stuff. So here's my controversial question. Should the Halcyon be part of the Disney Cruise Line fleet? And if it is, it will probably launch before the Wish. What do you think, Chris?
His little, he works on these, is up all night thinking of these little cute questions.
The thing is, I don't think that it should be a part of the Disney Cruise Line fleet because it's about world building, and ocean liners are probably not a big thing in the Star Wars universe. That being said, it does to me feel like a cruise experience, right? Like by design, because food's included and
shore excursions through Batuu.
Excursions are included. It's basically just like a permanent 2-day or 3-day, 2-night cruise. I know, Christy, you probably will never do it, but...
Oh, I might.
Really?
If Disney made it a very good price for me, but I have to know about things, right?
That's true. And you know that Dave would literally lose it. And then also, I feel like even your son would be like, yeah, getting to sleep in a little pod like that.
Oh, God, he would love that.
Yeah, so I feel like, I'm all for it. I actually do think we would wait till we had a kid. Because even though I am a kid, the thing I am most excited about being a new parent is seeing all the things that I love through their eyes. like getting to experience things fresh with them. I don't know. My vibe on the Star Wars Halcyon, whatever it's called, Halcyon, is that I definitely want to do it, but I don't think it's part of the cruise line.
I think it should be an honorary member somehow. I don't know. Part of the fleet. We'll see. All right, so
maybe they'll simulate rocking of a ship in each room.
Oh God, no!
Motion sickness.
And I really won't be able to ride it.
They'll
go there.
Bowls of Dramamine down on the first floor, just like on the
Disney,
cruise ship.
Don't listen to that idea. Don't listen.
All right, let's transition over to Disneyland. Chris, you and Seth had an opportunity to visit your beloved land, the happiest place on earth. Let's talk about that a little bit. What did you guys do, and when did you guys do it?
So, yeah, we have not gone for 9 months, which, just to be clear, everyone, Disneyland is not open in any similar way to Disney World. The Disneyland property is a lot more like Disney Springs right now, where it's basically a shopping experience. And you can see parts of the resort that you hadn't been able to see, but really up until, I want to say, mid-November, all you could do at Downtown Disney was go to the shops, and they were all capped at a certain number, and I think you could do outdoor dining. But then they had this idea of like, you know what, we're going to open Buena Vista Street for shopping, and we're also going to allow people to eat our superior corn dogs and our superior churros. So they had all of that there. And they also opened outdoor dining for Carthy Circle Theater, or Carthy Circle Restaurant. At first, you had to wait in line to get those, and then they opened up a reservation system, and the reservations were gone in a heartbeat. If we would have talked last week, I would have told you everything's still like this at Disneyland, but we actually turned a really difficult corner in California, which is we have less than 15% of our hospital beds remaining, which means that if a bunch of people get COVID, they won't be able to get treatment. And so when we triggered that 15% threshold, that triggered additional lockdowns. No more dining is allowed. And Disney, of course, had to close all of those. Now, if you go to Downtown Disney or Buena Vista Street, you cannot eat or drink while on property. Everything is to go, and you're not allowed to eat it until you get back to your car. So a very different experience. Though we went before that happened. We did an annual pass holder exclusive shopping event for a Spider-Bot, which is the main story thruster of the new Spider-Man ride. These like Spider-Bots crawl around all over the ride and shoot things at you, and you have to protect yourself and all this stuff. And because Marvel Land never opened, they have all these Spider-Bots probably sitting around in a warehouse somewhere. So they were like, you know what, we're going to start selling these Spider-Bots. And they had an exclusive annual pass holder event. And that's why we went. And we got a Spider-Bot. We had food. We went shopping. It was a much needed dose of Disney, but it is nothing like what's happening in Florida. And it's really not like an old school trip to Disneyland. It really feels just like shopping and eating in a nice environment.
So what were the crowds like, Chris? And then I have a question about shopping as far as you showed some pictures of things that were available from kind of Avengers Campus. Am I saying that right? Avengers Campus, right?
Yeah, Avengers Campus.
Yeah. So what was it like, an indoor store? And did they have all those items available? Was it really busy? What were the crowds like?
Yeah, so I don't know if you all remember back to when Disney announced they were going to be building a 4-star hotel at the far end of Downtown Disney. And then Disney and the city of Anaheim got in a fight and they canceled the project. Well, when they announced that they were doing that, they actually had to close the Rainforest Cafe, ESPN Zone, AMC Theaters, and this place called Earl of Sandwich. And they just like shut all those things down. And then they canceled the hotel project and all those places were closed. And they were like, well, we can't reopen them because they're closed down. So now they have these giant buildings that are just sort of like shells for them. And so the old ESPN Zone is now the annual pass holder exclusive shopping venue. Fortunately, they cover up all the sports-related things, Steve, so it's very Disney and not sports in there anymore. But you go in, and it's one person per table, so you can't even stand two people. Like, if you're in a party of two, you're not allowed to do that. One person per cast member, and the cast member shows you a picture of all the things that you could buy, and you just say, I want this, 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 and this, and they go and grab it. They swipe your annual pass to give you a discount, and then it's yours. But they're selling things at these events that are like, they know would sell out in a heartbeat. And so they're basically finding ways to reduce the like rush. And so you have to get a reservation. It's very orderly. Now, the spider bots are not going to sell out in a heartbeat. Those things are like the key, like marquee product of Avengers Campus. So like you will be able to go to Avengers Campus and buy a spider bot when it opens. But I think the cool thing about the spider bot shopping event is it was the only way that you could like surprise your kids or surprise your family on Christmas with like, look, this cool robotic spider that has never been available is now here. So that's, I think, why people were going to that event. It was not crowded. It was pretty easy to social distance throughout the day. We did sit at a table and remove our masks and eat, which I have not done before in the last 9 months. So that was weird. But there was nobody around us. Our table was like at least 10 feet from other tables. And it was just our little house unit eating together. And also, it was a corn dog from Disneyland, and it was delicious. So I feel really good about my life choices that day.
You had said you went shopping based on a little checklist, basically. So could you go then to the other store, like the World of Disney where you were there? Did it give you access into there?
So it doesn't give you access to any of the other stores, and all the other stores have queues to get in because they're capped at 20% capacity, because it used to be 30% capacity, and then we turned this dark corner of no more hospital beds. And so now the rules for all of California are, or every part of California that's at that threshold, rather, is 20% retail capacity and no dining. So we did have to stand in like maybe a 10-minute line to get into World of Disney. Once you're in World of Disney, that store is massive. For World of Disney, in downtown Disney, it's sort of shaped like an oblong rectangle, whereas at Disney World, it's like a giant square, right? So for downtown Disney, you enter at one end and you walk the entire length of it, and you have to exit at the other end. There's only one way to enter and one way to exit. I don't know what they're doing at Disney Springs, but anyway, we did that. They had some cool stuff. They have new merch for the movie Soul that's coming out on Christmas Day. They had all their holiday stuff. They have a lot of Disneyland 65th anniversary merch because the parks were closed during that. So there's things like that are happening.
Is Soul coming out, backtracking a second, is Soul coming out on Disney Plus, right? And
yeah, it's releasing on Disney Plus and theaters in the same day.
Oh, so it is going to theaters for people who have them. And then is it like Mulan that there's going to be a charge on Disney Plus?
No charge. It's like Disney's Christmas gift. Because think about how many of us have that tradition on Christmas Day of going to the theaters with their family to see a new movie. Well, now Disney's like, you don't have to put your life at risk to do it. You can just watch it from your living room.
Well, and it'll allow more people to watch it, which is nice without that additional financial burden for them, which is great.
And it's an added value for Disney Plus. It's like if Disney continues to put marquee movies on Disney Plus, it makes more people want to subscribe.
I could go off on a total rail here. Bob Iger was talking about that 2 years ago, where he saw the things changing and being able to, when a movie came out, you could pick where you wanted to see it, whether you wanted to watch it at home, whether you wanted to go to the theater. We're starting to see the fruition of that, I guess, and COVID kind of speeded everything up.
And I think like some people are like with the Warner Brothers announcement that they're releasing all of their Warner Brothers movies next year on HBO Max. And we're talking huge movies, like movies that would have been like $1 billion movies in the theaters. they're announcing that they're doing that. But if you actually step back and think about it, I don't think that the movie experience is going away. People are still going to want to sit in a darkened theater with a giant screen. What I think might happen is that all movie theaters move to lower capacity, more comfortable seating, maybe recliners, maybe some sort of vibe like that. But I don't think that for the rest of our lives, movie theaters are just going to deteriorate and become non-existent. I think for a pandemic, of course, it's a hard business model to be in.
There's like certain movies you just want to see, at least.
Yeah.
From my experience, maybe the next generation kids that are like 5, maybe they won't care, but there's just certain movies, those big over the top movies that you want to see like on the big screen with other people. I think there's a vibe to it that it makes it a lot more fun.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
How about, did you make it down Buena Vista Street? That was open, right? Is that where you get your corn dog?
That's where we had our corn dog and churro. Yeah, we were able to walk almost all the way up to the Cars Land entrance.
Did they have the holiday decorations up?
They don't.
Oh.
Or they have holiday all over Buena Vista Street, but I did not see any Cars Land holiday decorations.
Okay.
They might actually have sitting out in front of Cars Land that like snowmo car or whatever we would call it, snowmobile. And then weirdly, they had the gates to Avengers Campus open and a bunch of outdoor vending carts right in there, but you couldn't really see anything of the campus. They just had the very entrance gates. They opened Off the Page, which is a specialty like art store. So it's the only place right now where you can get like, $600 paintings of of Disney artist stuff.
Dave Avanzino was there, right? Because
I don't know. He does sell stuff there for sure.
He put, I swear, do you know Steve? He put, so friend of the show, he's been on to talk about his alphabet art on Disney Cruise Line. He put that he was like back at Disney again or something, I feel like, online somewhere. So maybe though he's not really there, or maybe he is, but people who might be interested should look into that.
Yeah, I think you can purchase his art at Off the Page. And then for Buena Vista Street, there's actually really only 2 shopping experiences. It's like either the left side of the street or the right side of the street, because all those shops are connected. So it's basically like if you want to shop at Elias and Company, you enter at one end and you walk all around. If you want to shop at like Trolley Treats, you walk at one end and go all the way down. And they pretty much sell the same things, except one has treats. You could buy like churro toffee, which is the best. That was what it was like a week ago. And then what happened is they had another annual pass holder shopping event for this like Funko Pop Sleeping Beauty Castle and Walt Disney.
So I saw the Walt Disney World one and it was adorable. And if I had known it was for sale before it was for sale, I would have had to have it. Did you get it?
Wait, did they have one that's that's Cinderella Castle?
Yeah.
So they had,
unless they were selling, right? They were selling the Sleeping Beauty Castle, but I don't think they were. I think it was Walt Disney World.
I mean, it sold out pretty much immediately. And then they were like, annual pass holders can come and buy this. And Seth and I would look for slots. They didn't have any. But then I secretly found one. And so I went back without him knowing and bought it. They also was like, they were like, it was a limit of 2. So I bought 2 because I was like, why not?
Gonna send one to Christy?
I put it on eBay. I became one of those
almost
people.
swore on the podcast. I think I actually said part of it that Steve has to blip out.
Did you sell
How did you become one of those people?
Well, no one's bid on it yet, I don't think. But he won't see it coming because it was completely sold out. So I'm excited to be able to give him that. But the thing is, when I went back, all the new closures had happened. And the vibe at Downtown Disney is real different now. Because it's like no food at all is open.
Wow.
And you can't eat or even drink anywhere on property, not even water.
Is there 100% mask compliance there? Like,
yes,
proper? Because I don't count any bit of compliance if your nose is sticking out.
Yes, I did not notice anybody's nose sticking out without them pulling it up to cover it. You know, like sometimes your mask slips
Sometimes
down.
it slips, for sure.
Yeah. People were pulling it up to cover it.
So that I just pulled up that Funko Pop on eBay, and super cute. Walt Disney's got Mickey. He's holding Mickey.
He's holding a
so
little Mickey
cute.
Mouse.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. I'm not a
You
huge
probably
Funko
pulled
Pop
up-
fan, but
You probably pulled up my listing.
it might be. Well, Chris, kind of bittersweet, I'm sure, going back there. I would love to go down Buena Vista Street again, but just seeing, Cars Land and everything else closed. I know you're missing being able to go to the parks just like everybody else, but good for both of you guys to be able to make it back and get some Disney experiences.
Yeah. And you sent a picture to us of your California Adventure trolley ornament.
Oh.
So I was like going all over the shops looking for like a blown glass trolley ornament, and they don't sell that anymore. And that makes me so sad. I could look on eBay, my new favorite site, but but I haven't seen it anywhere. I'm like jealous.
I love the red car trolley.
Me too.
That was like one of our kids' favorite ride when they were really little the first time we went there. So,
Well, I also love that the Newsy show,
oh yeah.
which is closed, maybe for good. We'll see.
Well, I'm sure they'll replace it with something better, something kind of IP. Well, Newsies is IP, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
They
So
own
there
that.
you go. Maybe it'll come back. We'll see. So, all right. Well, as we finish up tonight, anything else you guys want to talk about your experiences or anything?
No,
No, I
I don't
mean,
think so.
the theme parks Florida and Disneyland are completely different right now. I will say if you are local, it's worth heading down to there just to see it. But don't travel here just to go to a closed Disneyland and walk around on Buena Vista Street. It's not going to be worth your time. But if you are local or within an hour or two drive, it is nice. It's a cool dose of Disney. But I would say my Disney cup is not runneth over. It's just like, it was nice, but it was not anything compared to what it could have been if the parks were open.
Well, with that, I guess we'll close out this bonus edition of the DCL podcast. Thanks for coming back and listening. Thanks for you guys' experiences. And we will have a show out before the new year talking about some of the changes. Not big changes, but maybe some changes, some new things that we're going to be bringing to the show as we head on into 2021. So between now and then, happy holidays, guys. Enjoy your time with your families. Christy, have fun down there at Walt Disney World. Look forward to seeing all those pictures. And we will talk to everybody soon. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.